Welcome back to the Witch's Way podcast. This is Kat.
And Jamie. And today we are going to be turning the mirror inward, where we are discussing the power of self-awareness and talking through tools and practices for developing that self-awareness. And we're going to understand our triggers, okay? Fucking triggers.
Listen, the topic of this resonates so strongly with me because I am definitely in my awareness era.
Oh, there you go.
And I feel like I've been in my awareness era for a little while now, where it's really coming, where I'm noticing a lot. It's coming on strong.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing it manifest in different ways, like in different relationships that I have.
Yeah.
And oh man, it's big. So
You're
anyway,
there now. So this is Kat's podcast today.
It's not Kat's podcast today, but this topic really resonates with me because this is where I am in particular
currently
in my journey.
Yeah.
Where I did the awareness started a while ago, but it's like magnified awareness at this point because anyway, it's a long story. But a couple weeks ago we talked about connecting with your higher self, and a big part of that topic when we did that podcast was self-awareness.
It was,
like becoming self-aware.
And I felt like we could really talk on that for a long time. So now we have a podcast on that specifically, which is and we don't mention this anywhere in the podcast, but remember when we did the whole like magical books, there was a book called The Book of Mirrors. Yes. And that was about like your reflective self. So if you guys have heard of that, it's not I hate giving people more things to do, but if you wanted to just talk about or if you wanted to go through with the things that we're going to talk about today and have a dedicated journal just for that, know that people are calling that their book of mirrors. It's the reflections of things that are going on.
And I don't know what's the difference between the book of shadows, because that's where you're looking at, and the book of mirrors.
That's what I think. Yeah. I would think they would kind of be the same, but people really say that shadow work leans into psychology hardcore too.
Okay.
So maybe it's not as much. Yeah. Maybe the Book of Shadows is more with help, and the Book of Mirrors is like your self-reflection that you don't talk about with anybody.
Yeah. So if you were to stand in the mirror and look at yourself and talk to yourself.
Yeah.
What would you say?
That conversation.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever stood in the mirror and talked to yourself?
I haven't really done that, but I can see how it might be beneficial to like look at yourself, and it would force you to be really honest, because how could you not be if you're looking at your own reflection? It's actually extremely difficult. It would be hard. It's hard. It would be, for me, it would be very emotional. Yeah. Several years ago, I would stand in the mirror naked, a full-length mirror, like the one in my bedroom, and looking at myself, I would repeat 10 times, I love you, I love you, I love you. And then once I did that for a while, I was like, okay, this doesn't feel like it's changing anything. I just did like my mirror in my bathroom over my sink, where it's just really my face, and I started saying, I love your little freckles, I love your crooked eyebrow, your big nose is from your dad. It's okay. Oh, your teeth. I love your teeth too. They're weird little bunny teeth that make you feel funny. So I would start naming things about myself that I like or that I love. And, or that you wanted to love. That I wanted to love. Because that's truly what it is, right? It was changing the way that I thought about myself. Yeah. So I used that mirror technique. They say to do that. They do say that. And now I have said it. Mm-hmm. It does change something. And I think now I'm able to, I get my makeup on and whatever, and then I'm like, ooh, girl, look at you. I like you. So that's another podcast, but today is actually about... Thank you for saving me. Actually, this is about becoming aware of, especially, emotional triggers. So there's things... as we've gone along, I'm about to be 66, and I only started this journey probably 5 years ago. And that's a whole lot of life that I've lived where things have impacted me, and I have not really been I'm not going to say I've not been in a spiritual place, because I didn't follow religion, because I didn't want to, because I knew about it, and fuck that. Fuck the patriarchy. Oh, shit. But, this topic really resonates with me because as I have become my first awareness, first of all, let me tell you a story. Jamie was actually the one who helped me become aware of something that I was doing that I was like, what? And that was when I first moved here, and I used to say, evidently, because I was unaware of it, I'm so stupid. Oh my God, I'm so stupid.
Yeah.
Shit like that, right?
Yep,
God, I'm stupid. That was so stupid.
Just after like really simple, weird little, and I say weird, but things that you wouldn't normally call yourself stupid over, it was like.
So this was my self-talk when I first got here, because I'd been in a long fucked up relationship that I should have got out of years ago that I didn't, and I stayed in. But I probably did feel really stupid at that point for all the decisions that I'd made and all the places that I'd been and all the just bad choices and stuff like that. But she pointed out to me one day, she said, hey, you know, you tell me what you said, because I don't quite remember. I don't even remember that I was saying this. So this is how
it
unaware.
It surprised her when I brought it to her attention. I was
like, it did surprise me.
Because the first couple times you did it, I was thinking, oh, that's not a big deal. Like, that's just, nothing. But it continued on the more I was around her. And so I said, hey, you shouldn't call yourself stupid. And she's just like, what? Like, she looked at me like I was crazy. And I said, yeah, when you just did that, you were like, I'm so stupid. And you're like, I said that? Like, you were so baffled. Like, wait, what?
I truly was. So,
yeah. And it wasn't, you guys, literally, I don't even know what she was calling herself stupid for. It wasn't something that was super evident. It's not like she just face planted after being drunk or something that you could actually be like, that was stupid.
Yeah.
No. It was
something really probably
like,
small.
I don't know. You misspelled a word while you were typing something out. Like, God, you're so stupid, cat, or, whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
And just to call it to her attention, because I didn't like hearing it. I did not like hearing somebody call my mother stupid, even if it was my own mother. I was like, I don't like this. Stop saying that, because words are so big for me.
Yeah,
like, don't do that.
That was my first, sort of
exposure.
Yeah,
exposure.
To, starting to listen, starting to hear the words that were coming out of my mouth. And which were the thoughts that I was thinking about myself, which then came out of my mouth, and which became my reality. Because then I'm like, well, if you're so stupid, what the fuck's the point, right? But I think the biggest thing was that is like, I didn't realize that I was saying that. And so I think
you don't even realize what you're doing.
I think this is the big part of becoming self-aware, is that we start to recognize patterns and patterns in our behavior, and words that we say, or thoughts that we think, or the way that we react to situations, and we start to question. When we become aware, we start to question ourselves, like, wait a minute. Okay, I don't really like the way that I responded to that. I'm dealing with this right now. This is why it's a big topic for me, because I will, in my work, everybody deals with shit at work, right? And so I work remotely. I love the people that I work with. I love my job. I love everything about it. But sometimes I'm pretty impatient, or just not very forgiving or patient, because I'm not seeing the people. So it's across, thousands of miles or whatever it is. And so I find myself being easily annoyed. And the fact that I'm easily annoyed annoys me. It's like, why are you triggered by this thing? I mean, this is so small. Like, what is going on here? So what I find myself doing now is, when I get annoyed, either I have a conversation with myself, or I'm like, stop it.
Yeah.
This is not a big deal. Why are you tripping on that? Or I start questioning myself, like, what's going on here?
Yeah, what's really going on?
What's really going on here? What are you really feeling right now that's causing you to be so impatient, or just having this reaction that seems outsized from whatever was going on, like,
doesn't fit the thing.
It doesn't. They're like, it's incongruent. Like, this little tiny thing happened, and I'm having this big reaction to it. Like, what is truly going on here?
Yeah.
So,
before we go any further, I wanted to talk about. I meant to mention this. Sorry, but we got all off on naked mirrors.
That's okay. No, go ahead.
I want to I want to talk about how the self-awareness practice is important for witches who are growing their practice, because I know a lot of the topics that we speak about are definitely psychology rooted. We can't help that. That's part of the growth in the spiritual practice that is never talked about, that we think it should be more talked about, because that's how we become healthier, happier, stronger, powerful witches.
Absolutely. I love that you have your degree in psychology.
So I can't. It always comes back to that.
It's so
made
helpful
so much
in this
better.
realm.
Thank you.
It really is.
I know. Thank God I went through college.
Yeah.
Never thought I would. Like, did not want more school. But when we think about like why is this practice important for witches who are growing their practice? And it's because witchcraft practices, they use power, right? Now we're going to go follow the bouncing ball really quick. Witchcraft practices use power. Well, what is power? You often hear that. Like, how do you become a powerful witch? I see this conversation. It's like, what the fuck? So power, like to power a spell or a ritual or a mantra or whatever, it's energy, okay? So follow the bouncing ball. Power is energy. When people talk about like the energy of crystals and herbs and spaces, like we just talked about on the last podcast, how spaces hold power for us. They hold that energy of like the essence, right? It's why we collect the little things.
Yeah.
But we don't really talk about that the real energy source for witchcraft, for spells, for what makes a witch powerful, it's our fucking emotions. Emotions are energy. Emotions are energy in motion. So where do we get our power from? Being in control of our emotions, in control of our energy, in control of our power.
Yeah.
That is what powers us, is our emotions. That is the force that drives all of this. You know, this is what creates our reality, is our emotions, our energy in motion. And I just wanted to solidify that, because definitely when we get into talking about triggers, that is your emotional triggers. These are things that happen that spin your energy out of control, that can spin your energy into control as you learn what's good, bad, happy, sad for you. Like, that's why this self-awareness is so important, because if you don't even know what's powering your mood, how the fuck are you gonna go power a spell, a mantra, help anybody, read tarot and trust it? That's why we don't trust. That's why we don't have confidence, because we don't truly know our emotional state and what's driving that. So this self-awareness is to get to the bottom of what is truly driving the power of us. And that is our energy in motion, our emotions. So
I have something to add.
You're looking at me so seriously.
I just so want to add to this, because I'm listening to a book right now, and you know, it talks about, so it's a book about intentions and like setting your intentions and like really manifesting the future that you want. And so the author talks about how there's all this surface stuff. If you Google manifest, you get like all these quotes from people like, you are what you think, and you manifest your dreams, and what you think about, you bring about.
Yeah.
Okay, but you can say those words. But what does all of that mean? Because what we have to get to is, so what the book talks about is like, the words are just the surface, right? They're the words that we're speaking. They're like this hoo-hoo stuff, you know, what a woo-woo and all that shit. But you know what really drives us is what's going on beneath the surface.
Yeah, it's our
emotions. So we
emotions.
have to get to the underlying causes. We have to be able to turn that mirror on ourselves and look deep down and see what is driving. So it's like it's a subconscious thing.
Yeah.
We have to get to that point where we can understand what's happening on a subconscious level.
Sure.
So that we can start to change those automatic behaviors that we've carried with us through our whole entire life.
Yeah.
And that, you know, we got when we, you know, whatever happened to us when we were little, and all the things, right, to where we are today.
Yeah.
There's all this stuff that's going on below the surface. So think of it like this. Like when you first started driving a car, I can remember being 16 years old, and in the you know, we had driver's ed back then. Did you have driver ed?
Fuck no.
Okay, so, well, when I
had mom's driver ed version.
That's right. I taught all my kids.
High school parking lot, mom, scared to death I'd fuck up her car.
They actually had driver's ed when I was a teenager in California going to school. And I remember being in the car, you know, it's the teacher, and there's like 3 students in the car, 1 student's driving, everybody takes turns. But when you're learning to drive, it's like turn the car on, put your seatbelt on, turn your blinker on, all these things that you have to think about, right? You got to remember to check your mirrors. You got to remember to do this. So all the things that you have to remember when you first start driving.
Okay.
After you've driven for years, you get in the car as automatic pilot.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's how we get over time with our emotions and even our emotional triggers. Like everything becomes automatic pilot. And for us to change that and change that trajectory or direction, or to become in control of it. Maybe that's a better way to say it. To take that power back.
That is what the power thing means.
Yes.
Because best way to say this. Once we have our autopilot that we are running on in life, all of a sudden we stop taking responsibility for what we're feeling. And we
stop making decisions.
We stop, all of that, making the decision on how we're going to feel. We stop accepting or taking responsibility for it.
Yes.
We start throwing it on other people, situations, circumstances. They fucked me over. This happened. My job. I got fired. I got this. I got all the things. It's everybody else's fault, not our own.
Yeah.
And so even using the word trigger is sometimes, I tread that lightly because it was such a catchphrase.
It
like
was
6
such a
years
catchphrase.
ago.
It's kind of like
don't
rituals.
get triggered. Like all that,
exactly.
And that's
you're triggering me, man.
Yeah, and that's not the direction we're headed now, because we truly are triggered. I live with PTSD. I know the things that will actually trigger that hyperventilation, anxiety, feel like I need to escape, run away, like I need to fucking bury myself in a puzzle for 2 days, something to get out of that state. I realize that about myself now. Before I would just throw myself into situations.
And that is self-awareness.
That's my self-awareness.
Yeah.
And it takes time to build that.
Yeah.
I know we started getting off on another point, but the power, remember you guys, when we've said this a lot, but like the power is in the witch, and that's why, because powerful means that you are able to control what is going on with you and not let the external things decide how you're going to feel, how you're going to react,
what you're going to say.
You're just popping off. All the ways that we can't control ourselves is where you lack all the things that you wish you would be, for confidence. Yeah. Because we would have more confidence if we knew who we were, and we lack confidence because we've got all these outside influences that we're allowing to determine our internal state.
Yeah.
That's really fucking hard.
And not only our internal state, but our external state too.
Then that leaks out into the external state, right? All over the place. Yeah. So I wanted to make sure that I talked that through, because this is definitely a psychology topic, but it applies to witchcraft so perfectly, and this dispels some of this hidden meaning that witches talk about, like, ooh, she's a powerful witch. Well, what the fuck does that mean? Powerful like what?
Yeah.
And how did she get the power? And why does she have the power, not other people?
Of that, the first thing that comes to my mind is a movie, right?
Of course.
Where, they're like, what was the one where they're like
and shit,
they're doing the
big
what were they doing in the craft? The big circle thing with all the
no. So
what happened there?
The beach scene. I think you're talking about the beach scene.
Yeah, okay. I think so.
They were invoking a goddess or a god. I can't remember. Okay. They were invoking a deity. Okay. That's what they were there for. They were asking this deity for help to give them more power. Okay. So it was depicted in the movie was like this big swirling thing in the air, right? Because when they started the
like the clouds were swirling, were swirling.
Well, and the sea was washing up and all of that. So they started the incantation, and in order for the movie to portray that they felt the power, we had to see the power as the audience. Right. And so that's why they made their incantation was powerful enough to make clouds swirl, to make the oceans rise, to beach animals, which that's really sad. Why would they do that? So
I don't remember that.
It needed to be dramatic. It needed to be dramatized, that they felt the power of it.
Yeah. And that's the thing that I think of when I think that when someone says be a powerful witch, that's the thing that comes to my mind, and I wonder if that's the things that comes to many people's minds.
Sure, yeah.
Is you
get these supernatural abilities
because you can make the ocean move or something like that. No, the power is
being able to
control your emotions,
control yourself.
Yeah.
And
your reactions.
That's what makes that powerful, is when you are in control of your emotions, when you're in control of your energy. Remember, emotions, energy, and motion. That you can focus that energy into a desire with all your might and all your confidence and all your inner, like, if we were to focus all of our energy on something, you would make shit happen. But most of us, we don't spend the time learning how to focus it. We can't sit with ourselves. We can't hold a thought that long. This is why we talk about meditation, mindfulness, journaling, because all those things help us control our own emotions and to quiet the fucking mind. That's like all the nagging to-do list shit that comes up. Especially if you have anxiety and ADHD like me. I'm like,
so I just
20 things going through at the same time.
I'm on which Facebook groups, right?
Oh,
and
fuck, yeah.
Most of the things I just came across one where like the witch was showing something that she did with a rotten apple, but what she expressed in the post was all this anger and shit that because she got betrayed by her significant other. Mm-hmm. He went off with some other woman and she was very hurt and very betrayed. So she took all of that emotion that she felt and she did all of these things with this apple, like put things in it and all this energy into it. Mm-hmm. No, it wasn't a betrayal. Actually, it was somebody running their mouth. That's what it was.
Oh, shit.
Like a neighbor, like blah, blah, blah. A Karen is what she said.
A fucking Karen.
A fucking Karen, right?
Okay.
So she took this rotten apple and was like, somebody in the neighborhood was a Karen and starting trouble. And she just wanted to shut her up. Mm-hmm. And so in her post, she wrote this long post about what she did. She took this apple, she like put things in it, but all the things that she was feeling, all the emotion that she was feeling about that situation and how wronged it was, she put into this apple that became her spell. Mm-hmm. She didn't get a spell from somebody else. She built this spell from emotion.
Yeah.
She went with what she felt in her heart and in her soul, and she put all of it into there. Just all this stuff, and it was like, and you know what? She's like, and then I put it in a freezer. At the end of it, she's like, and then I put it in a freezer. I haven't heard a word. And I think that's the power that we're talking about. That's where the emotion comes from, because she was able to focus energy, all of her energy into that and put all these things in there that she was feeling.
Yeah. I don't know why I thought of this. It's a fucked up thing to think. But for me, what could I give that kind of attention to? What could make me so laser focused? If my son was in the hospital hanging on by a thread, I could become the most laser focused for his healing.
Yeah. And
we're only pushed to that place of focused when it's something that truly matters to us. That's why when people ask me, you know, oh, can you make a feather levitate? Can you control candle smoke? I'm like, I don't know what we're doing here. Why the fuck are we wasting I don't know what that means for you to do things like that are insignificant in my mind, you know? It's being able to control yourself is better than trying to control forces outside of you and make the wind blow, a candle smoke go straight, a feather levitate, a book fly off the shelf. Sure, that's a neat fucking trick, but what difference are you making with trying to do things like that?
Yeah.
Change something that has real significance in the world, you know? To practice doing that. Even if you don't succeed, you might get through a little bit. You might see a little bit of change. But if you keep on focusing on that, you get better at it. Not fucking levitating a feather.
Yeah.
You bring up the the groups, and I just think of all the ridiculous things people have asked. So
sometimes they're good though. Like the one with that. I mean,
no, that's a great example, and she explained everything.
The way that she wrote a long post about what she did.
That's a good one, at least.
Yeah, because she used that energy, the emotion that she felt.
Yeah.
Emotion and energy, or energy. How did you say it?
Okay, so emotions are energy in motion.
Okay. So she took her emotion and turned it into energy in motion, because
focused energy. Yeah.
She focused it on that, and she successfully, whatever she did, the Karen shut her mouth, which was her goal in that.
There you go. I love that she didn't try to do something to the Karen. You know, some people are like, try to wish bad and all of that. It's like, no, just stop talking your bullshit.
Just zip it, you know, because you're causing problems in the neighborhood. So that's an example. I feel like that is an example of a powerful witch because you're able to focus all of that energy into there.
Yeah.
And you have clarity about what you want. And also, for me anyway, at least in my practice, like, you're not trying to harm somebody else.
Yeah.
That's an important part of my ethical practice for this.
That's part
not
of my
everybody
ethics too.
agrees with that. And if you don't, then that's your practice. And, that's...
Everybody's practice is different.
Everybody's practice is different. So, okay. Whew. That was kind of deep.
I know. I almost want you to, like, I want to see the post.
You want to see the post now?
Did she show the apple?
She did.
Yeah, that's pretty fucking cool.
It was pretty, she wrapped it in wire and everything. It was pretty wicked. I'll find it because it was just today.
Oh.
It was just today or yesterday, so I can probably find it. I'll share it with you when I find it.
I think that's why.
So I think this was us talking about how to become a powerful witch. So the thing about being powerful is becoming aware. And that's what this topic is about. That's why we turn the mirror inward, right? That's why we start looking at ourselves first. We don't look outside. That's why we're not saying get crystals and herbs and buy a million fucking things. No, we're saying the thing to do is to turn that mirror inward, to look at yourself, to become self-aware so that you can control your energy and make it focused enough to become the things that you need in your life, whether it's to manifest what you want.
Yeah.
To turn your intentions into like if you're trying to manifest something in your life, a new career, a home, a car, or whatever, a love, whatever it is that you want to manifest, you've got to be able to focus your energy, and you got to be able to you could say somebody could give you a mantra to say, and you could say that for weeks and months and not change a thing because there's this underlying belief that you have. And so I think that's the subconscious part that we're gonna get into.
Yeah.
And how you see that, and I'm just gonna speak for myself. How I see that coming out in my own life is little things that trigger me, like getting annoyed with somebody at work over something really small. I'm like, why am I letting that annoy me?
Yeah.
What is the big deal? Like, it's like you talked about, I think maybe it was 2 podcasts back, where we were talking about being in line.
Yeah, being in the line.
And then getting really, like, the people having a conversation and you're waiting and you're feeling like, like, hurry up, right?
Yeah, like, you're wasting my time. That was the ego conversation.
That was the ego one. But still, it's a whole thing where we become aware of these things that we're feeling. Like, why am I getting annoyed with this? Why, what am I going to get done in the next 5 minutes if I have to wait 5 minutes?
Yeah.
So what?
Yeah, this is just a great way to say that the self-awareness is key to the personal power and growth, because it allows us to better understand our thoughts and our emotions and then our behaviors.
Yes.
So we're going to do another bouncing ball, follow along kind of thing, right? Because there's not enough drawn out connections for these things. People hear the words, but they hear them separately. When we understand that we recognize our patterns of behavior, like, that's the extremely important information about ourselves that can truly heal and change us, and to be the most confident, to be the best version, if that's what you're looking for, to be secure, to basically be fucking awesome. I mean, when you're in control of yourself, nobody can come at you and be like, oh, I just think back to this guy that I follow who's kind of ridiculous, and I love that about him. He dresses ridiculous, but he gives really great seminars. And he'll say to somebody, look at that girl with blue hair, fuck her blue hair. And the girl doesn't have blue hair at all. And she's just sitting there like, what? Because somebody is saying something about her that she knows is completely untrue. She's not fucking offended. She's like, it bounces off,
like,
right?
It bounces right off of her.
But if she had blue hair and he was making fun of her, would she feel it? So he's showing the example of, like, if you had blue hair and I was making fun of it, you might be worried that I actually don't like it. But I can say that about you, and because you're totally confident you don't have blue hair, that's not something that you are, you're not even fucking worried about it. So when we think about that in terms of, we know who we are, we don't let somebody else's ideas or opinions of us affect how we feel about ourselves.
Yeah.
Because that then in turn will start to mold, shape the way we behave, conforming to something that we really don't want to be, but we want to be liked and accepted. We get to uncover those patterns as we understand our thoughts and emotions and behaviors. So it goes like this, you guys. Emotions and thoughts and behaviors and patterns. And that is where we follow that bouncing ball of what we're thinking and we're feeling, then we're acting it out, and then...
Emotions, thoughts, behaviors, patterns.
Yeah. So we can... Emotions and thoughts, sometimes I wonder which one to place first, but you have thoughts that can give you emotions. You also have emotions that reinforce thoughts. Sure. But then those things become your behaviors. Yeah. And then those things become your pattern of behavior, right? Yeah. So now you have a pattern of reacting this way, of saying these things this way, of doing these things this way. Mm-hmm. And then you fucking forget who you were in the first place.
You lose yourself.
You lose yourself to the idea of what everybody else wants from you to be accepted. I will say that I've talked to my sister about this a lot, so she knows that this is a real thing. When we first moved here together all those years ago, she fucking hated my hair. It's so weird. The color of my hair annoyed her so much. She convinced me to dye my hair black, and I didn't really want to. But her idea of not liking me hurt more than me doing an action to myself, altering myself, so that she would not continue to say, oh my God, your hair. Like, oh, your hair color is so ugly. You know, and she didn't say it like that, but she did say it like that. You know, it was like, come on, Jamie, you need to. Then she used to say to me all the time, and actually last night was the first night. Were you there when she complimented me? So my sister has always said I dress like a fucking grandma. And I was like, I probably am a grandma. I'm just older than all my years. Like I always have been. I've never liked what's in style. I love like the big sweaters and cardigans and the weird shit and the fucking crochet. And I don't know, maybe I am a grandma. So last night, Mom, I'm wearing that black jumpsuit and a big ass cardigan, like swallowing me, and my little sandals. And I've got my purse from Scotland with the little fringe. And I don't know why, but I'm walking in the car and she looks at me and she goes, look at you in your cute little outfit. I'm totally feeling your vibe. And I was like, I told you grandma dressing is cool. I always told you. I was like, you're finally in it with me.
I didn't hear you say that, but you look super cute.
Thank you.
And I never thought you dress like a grandma.
I dress so odd. Like I love wearing skirts and tennis shoes together, and that's such a European thing that I didn't know I was doing, but tennis shoes just make sense for me. But I love skirts. I have long legs, so like I don't know. But these are things that were really hard for me, and I started changing who I was to be with my sister and feel more comfortable. That's the point I was actually getting at. And,
right, yeah. You let that outside influence who you were.
Of course, because I wanted her acceptance. Fuck yeah, I did. Yeah. I wore huge jewelry. I put on fake eyelashes. I got hair extensions. I did all the things that she did at that time, you know, because I wanted to fit in, and she was who I was running with. Like that was my friend, that was my person, you know. And I remember doing all the things and thinking like, this is totally not me, but I'll play dress up with her. And then there was a point probably 5 or 6 years ago where I was like, I'm done. Like I'll do it for special occasions, but I'm done trying to do these things and have all this stuff. And like, I never liked getting my nails done. And she would always say like, oh my God, why don't you know your fucking nails? And I was like, I don't like fake nails. I don't want to. So because she was my major influence, there was that immediate time where I changed a lot about myself physically to match her, because then she wouldn't talk shit to me. It's like a mean girl.
I bet there's a lot of people who can relate. Who have been in similar situations where you've had like a bestie or a sister or whoever, you know, somebody who's like telling you the way that you are is subpar
to them, right?
To them, and then
expressive
you don't
about it,
and then you don't have the confidence in yourself and your beliefs. You're not there yet with that. To say, I'm happy the way I am, and push back on that.
Yeah. And so that came to me later where I was like, I don't give a shit if you don't like it. Like, you know, I'm not dirty. I'm not unkept. It's not something that's truly embarrassing. So I don't know if I told you, but then I started embarrassing her, like when we would go out to bars and she wants to be all cute and dance, and I would get out there and do like the sprinkler and like the Roger Rabbit, and I would start doing the most ridiculous dance moves because I didn't fucking care. I'm like, I'm not here for people's. Like, I'm here with you. Yeah. And my biggest thing was just to get her to laugh then after that. I was like, I don't really care if you... I'm not going to dance sexy. I'm not going to drop it like it's hot. I'm not going to twerk. Like, those are not going to be my things. Yeah. And now she loves me and accepts me, but... It was a lot at first, you know? And that's where we get caught up in that whole... What's the pattern? Do you conform? Yeah. Do you stand your own ground?
Well, also,
what happens?
you know, You really are your most powerful when you are free of judgment.
Yeah.
And that your sister was judging you.
She was.
And you turned that inward and you were like, oh my God, I'm not enough. I'm not enough.
Yeah.
I'm not good.
Like, I'm not cool enough to hang out with my little sister.
Yeah. So, wow, that was
I know that was a.
So we didn't know that much. I didn't know
that was going to come up, but
you didn't know. I didn't know that was that changed for you
Yeah.
so much because I wasn't around.
And it doesn't affect me.
Really
Like, I have no feels about it or anything. But I remember saying, I'm not dyeing my hair anymore.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not doing this anymore. And it was slowly one by one thing. But yeah.
All right. So. Kind of switching subjects, changing the
switching gears.
Switching gears.
That's what you were going to
So
say.
let's talk about triggers.
Yeah, like where to start? Where do we start with this?
So where do we start with? Where do we start with triggers? So I kind of shared with you some of mine with, getting annoyed. You can talk about being annoyed when you're driving. Or when you're in line, like with people we live in Florida, and this time of year, there's a lot of old people here. A million times, yeah. So all the slow people, and it's
the lost people, the people who don't drive regularly, who then come here and drive.
So it's
there's many things.
So those can be triggering situations, where what happens in that situation. Okay.
Oh boy.
You guys have probably heard this story before, but for those who haven't, I'm going to tell you again. I used to call my daughters on the phone, and they would be driving in the car. And we would be talking on the phone, and all of a sudden, it would be like they would have Tourette's because they would yell out the window, "What the fuck are you doing?" And I'd be like, "What are you?"
Like out of nowhere.
We're just having a conversation, and then they would yell out something, evidently to a driver. So what happens with these triggers is when we let situations trigger us, we turn into these people that we don't recognize.
Yeah, they're not us.
They're not like we. I don't want to be like that.
No.
That's not me. I wouldn't yell at that person if we were
face to face.
Yeah, if we were face to face.
Yeah.
But I'm letting what's happening trigger me because I'm allowing that to take my power away to where now I'm just reacting. I'm in reaction mode.
You went to base level. That's how I think of it. It's like
Absolutely.
a base level.
Base, yes, very.
You're not elevated, So I use those words as a way to judge, not judge, but gauge. That's the word I was looking for. To gauge like where you're at. This is base level reaction shit. When you're
like, "Fuck you, motherfucker."
I mean, it's just
instead of saying,
"Peace be with you."
Yeah. Bless you. Have a good day. I hope you're okay. Something like that, which takes a lot
Having
more.
patient, kindness, understanding, grace, like
empathy,
compassion. It's a lot. Yeah.
So those are the elevated emotions.
Yeah, I think that understanding the emotional triggers is such a crucial aspect to self-awareness.
Absolutely.
Because your energies are energy in motion, right? So like you're shooting out that fucking energy at them, right? The triggers will often cause the emotional reactions that we don't feel like we're in control. Don't you feel out of control?
Absolutely.
Like after the situation is done, you're like, oh God.
Oh my God.
Like you come back to stuff and you're like, that's embarrassing.
I have done some things that even just since I've been here, with my younger daughter. I love her to death, but she likes to try to tell me what to do.
Oh shit.
Right? Like, no, Mom, you can't drive. You've had too much to drink. Or, no, Mom, don't do this. And that triggers me to where, because I don't want people trying to control me.
You don't want to be told what to do.
I don't want to be told what to do.
By anybody.
That is a fucking trigger for me. And when I first got here, me and her got into it like hardcore when we were out one night. And I really said some ugly things. And then the next day, and I really hurt her feelings. And then the next day, when I was sober, and I don't know if it was you or her that repeated to me what I said, and I was like, oh my God, that's awful. So what happened is, me allowing myself to be triggered by what she was saying, and her, she comes from a place of love and care. She's not trying to control me.
Yeah, it is.
She's not trying to control me. That's that was my perception of it in that moment. That I was, it triggered things from my past, like people trying to control me and tell me what to do, which I have a huge issue with and have had, most of my life. And what that did is then that turned me into somebody that I didn't really recognize, and I said things that I
didn't mean.
And that really hurt her.
Yeah.
And that was really a reckoning for me. I was like, oh my God, I feel so terrible about that. So for me, it's like recognize. So I have to figure out, and I think we talk about this, about not only when recognizing the triggers, but then what can we do when we are triggered? Like, how do we turn it around to not go off the rails and let something trigger us and turn us into somebody that we don't want to be and that we don't feel who we are, because really, like, we let ourselves be triggered and our emotions run away with us, and to turn that around and turn it into something positive.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to talk about that too, right?
Yeah. So I picked out this, like, I picked out an imagery for understanding when we willed. That's a hard word for me with my speech impediment. Wielding. Am I saying it right? You're wielding.
Wield? Oh, wield.
When
like
you're wielding. Yeah.
Like wielding a wand or a sword.
Yes, you're wielding. Yeah, like wielding, I'm shaking my hand in the air.
Yeah.
So if we were to think of our emotions as a magical tool, say our emotions are...
magic sword.
I was thinking a wand, but yes, we can go with sword.
I like sword because when you think about what that does.
I mean, sword is definitely like cuts deep, right? Words cut deep.
It's a tool of harm usually, or defense.
So when we're wielding our emotions, or we have it where it's like outside of ourselves, it made me think about the Sorceress's Apprentice, that movie. Whether you've seen the Disney version, like the old cartoon one, or the newer one with Nicolas Cage and the other funny guy that I can't remember his name. He comes into contact with a magical tool of some kind, and I can't remember what it was, but then the whole room turns to chaos because he can't control it. He doesn't know how to fucking use the tool with, like, poise and control, right? So he picks it up thinking he knows what to do, but by wielding it, he's like chaos everywhere. The fucking brooms and mops and
oh my God, and I can just see how that, like, that's
the emotions.
That's, like, I created a lot of chaos when I had this reaction.
Your energy still goes out.
Yes.
Like, you're still throwing out all of this energy, even if it's baseline, even if it's unintentional, even if you don't think it's you still did it. That's why our biggest tool is that self-control for witches, and what makes us truly powerful is to control what we throw out into the world, to wield our emotions in a very responsible fucking way, because that is energy you're throwing out. That's like doing an unintentional spell, right? To think about it in that manner is a better way to understand that if we don't get a grasp on what triggers us and know that we're going to go through like what to do when you are triggered and step away and say things, whatever the fuck it is. But understand that if you allow that to just be pure chaos thrown out there, you don't know what you're actually, and you're responsible for that. Even if you didn't mean to do it, you're responsible for it.
Well, and here's the thing that has really come into my awareness also, is that once the words are out of your mouth,
you cannot take them back.
Ever take them back.
And they hurt forever.
They leave a scar. And even it's like the story of the nail in the fence, or the nail in the wood, where the father has a son who gets really angry about things. So he gives the son a hammer and a nail. The son gets really angry, and then he says things that are mean and hurtful. So the father gives the son a hammer and a nail, and he has him hammer nails into a piece of wood. And then he has him take out the nails from the wood. And what's left, of course, is a nail hole. And the analogy is, or the moral of the story is, like, once you put those words out there, it's like a hammer or a nail into a piece of wood, and you can take out the nail, but the hole is still there, that you left with the words that you say. And so it's an anger management thing. There's a whole story behind it, and that's what it reminds me of. So that's the other thing. Like, you have responsibility. I have responsibility for my daughter. I bet still thinks about that time when that 100%, happened.
Yeah,
and that still hurts her, because she meant no harm by it, and I overreacted to it because of my own personal shit that I dragged along with me for my whole life, and my issue with people trying to control me.
Yeah. It's like when we left my stepdad, we all had battle scars.
Definitely.
And There was physical abuse. There was verbal abuse. The thing with physical abuse is you remember it, but all of those things will heal over time, right? Like, I don't think I actually have any physical scars from anything that he did. But the fucking emotional scars from the verbal abuse, his words cutting deep, deep, deep. Yeah. I can't forget those.
Yeah.
And I can't undo them.
Right.
And it's almost hard to let them go. I stopped repeating them to myself. I stopped retelling those stories so that I could try to heal and let them go. But they lived with me for 20 years, you know? It's only in the last 10, like I said, with Tony being my emotional rock, that I could finally start addressing those things and being like, I lay this down to rest now. I don't need to bring this up anymore. I don't need to retell the tales. I know what I went through. It's done and buried, though. Like, I don't want to redig it up. And
and that's
the words thing.
Yeah, and so, you know, you probably know this, but he reached out to me. That's my ex-husband, her stepdad that we're talking about. He reached out to me not long ago and wanted to try to reconnect as friends. And
air quotes.
Air quotes, exactly, right. I know where that's going. You're not fooling me. But anyway, I just couldn't, you know. It's like, you know what? There was so much damage done to my children.
Yeah.
Which I feel responsible for because I was with him. And then to me personally, because he said a lot of extremely hurtful things to me. He tore me down with his...
All the time.
He was like so...
Vicious.
So vicious with his words. Yeah. It's just awful.
Viper.
And I don't... whether he's changed or not is irrelevant. I can't ever risk... It's like I have zero interest. So I just blocked him and cut him out. I was like, I'm not interested. I'm sorry, but
there's no need to revisit that.
I don't want to go. I'm not going backwards. So
yeah,
there's too much. You know what? Once there's too much water under the bridge, that's it. There is no going back. So,
well, I wrote in here just a practical tip because I think that this is what I used when I was going through it. Because I left home and went in the Navy, so I basically didn't deal with any of my shit. I just launched myself into another stage of life. But what I did through journaling, and we're not talking about journaling in this one, but when you find things that you can write about, it's like start writing down the emotional reactions as they happen with people right now, today. Don't do your old shit. Do your stuff now. You'll start uncovering things. And it's asking questions like, what made me feel this way? Like Kat is understanding why she reacted so poorly to Jolene, because she knows that she's carrying other shit. And that wasn't about Jolene necessarily trying to help my mom or say something. It was about all the years of repression and all the years that she had to do what people told her to that was not good for her, and she just had to fucking sit there and do it. And so now when people try to tell her what to do, it's like that visceral reaction still happens of like, you will not fucking control me. I've been controlled. I'm not going to be there again. Even when it comes from a place of love.
So my awareness today in that is that my daughter, in saying the things and worrying about me, and she did this recently with the hurricane. Mom, I'm just so afraid you're going to drown. You know, we just went through Hurricane Milton, and she was really scared, you know, and I tried to reassure her. And, you know, I realize now 5 years after that fact of that thing that we went through when I first got here, is that I could have handled that in such a more compassionate way and tried to address her fears and to help, you know, but instead I like totally went overboard. And I will have to live with that, you know, and whatever scar that I left for her.
Yeah.
So, I mean, my awareness now is not only my emotional triggers, but how could I have handled that differently? What could I have done to address her fears and allay her fears while you know, respecting them or recognizing them or acknowledging them, acknowledging that she's
validating
validating her fears while still maintaining my boundary.
Yeah,
you know that this is my life.
I'm not going to be told what to do, and that's it.
I'm 50 something years old, whatever I was at the time. I've lived a long, you know, I can handle my shit.
I can handle my shit. I'm a real tough kid. Yeah, I think it was the other way around. Yeah, I can hear it.
Exactly. And so these are the things that, like, once you become aware of these things that you do, and then you can look at it and reflect on it and say, okay, so these are going to come up in future situations because we're human beings and we have human relationships and all these people that we're dealing with that love us and have our best interest in heart, and sometimes don't, but whatever, we're going to go with the ones that do have our best interest in heart.
The healthier ones.
The
healthy relationships.
But then what can you do?
Yeah.
You know, how do you make this, how do you turn this into a more positive experience where you set your boundary, but you still validate the person who is expressing their concern for you?
Yeah.
I guess that's the best way to say that.
Yeah. And I mean, the best tool that I have for self-understanding, that means you understanding yourself, that means me understanding myself, is to step back from the situation, take yourself literally out of the situation, and while it's going on, because this is control. You're in a situation, you know it's bad, feelings start coming up, you're triggered, you're having the things, that there's the
oh my God, are you kidding
coming
me?
up.
Like I can feel like
the rise of it,
I can feel the rise coming up from my gut
Mm-hmm.
into my heart, into my throat, where the words are going to come out.
Yeah. So when we start feeling that, imagine yourself stepping back out of the situation, hit the pause button, don't respond. This is where we start to have control. We take control by not responding immediately. We're going to think first. We're going to pull ourselves out of that situation and we're going to observe and be like, what is really going on here? But not you trying to figure out that other person. What's going on for you?
Yeah.
This is not about the other person. This is about what's going on with you. This is why this is the mirror inward. We're not looking at what other people are doing to you. This is what is going on with you while things are happening in front of you and why you're feeling a way about them.
Why are you reacting to it the way you are?
What are your reactions and why? And I check my thoughts. I'm like, what is this making me think of, right? Because that's why it's called a trigger, is because basically this thing happened before and it's an easy straight shot line to have the same reaction again.
Yes.
This is, I reacted this way before, I'm going to react this way again and again and again and again. And that is how it happens. That's how we get these habits, habitual behavior to react to things that emotionally that we don't have control over because it's us, not them.
So what I'm doing, so
what
you
are
step
you
back.
doing?
So what
I
I'm
step
doing,
back, yeah,
so
look
what
at
I'm
it.
doing with myself right now is I'm having this two-sided conversation with myself, because I work at home, I'm alone. So I don't have anybody to talk to. So when I have these, what I see is outsized reactions or like annoyances where I'm like, so I start going back and forth. It's like I got, I don't know, two of me, and I'm going back and forth this conversation.
Sure.
Like, okay, what is wrong with you? And then the other side of me is like, well, whatever. So I go back and forth like it's this volley between.
Yourself.
I answer myself. I have a conversation with myself, and try to get to that reasoning part of me is like, why are you reacting like this? They don't mean, they just asked for something. Like what? So that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And maybe that's a way of observing.
It's a work in progress.
And
it is a way of
maybe
observing.
that's a way of observing, is like I'm looking at myself and saying, okay, why are you reacting like this? What is going on?
It's reflection.
Like you're
for understanding.
and maybe it's just a thing where I've gotten used to just being annoyed, and I need to really address that. It's like
that's become your habit.
My habit is
your habit is to become annoyed. Oh shit.
Oh shit.
She literally, if you guys could see her, she kind of like smiled and then hung her head in defeat a little bit. She really felt that. I didn't know that was gonna hit for you. It's a habitual reaction to be like, what the fuck now? What the fuck is it now? What's happening? Yeah. No, I get it. It is.
No, it is. Oh God.
I get that. That sounds like that hit.
That hit.
Well, I have, if you guys, if you need more of a visual representation of this, I have a really good movie that is kind of gives you an idea of what it would look like to have that conversation with yourself. This movie shows that. Or for me, it's like to step back and envision that there's this, you're not in the situation right now. You're kind of like out of it, watching it from afar, going, that's really interesting. So the reason that we get so emotional is because we feel that it's very personal for us. And these things are very personal. The things that happen to us feel very personal. But the book is called, it's a book and a movie. It's called The Host. And it's by Stephanie Myers. And it's the lady who did the vampire movies, Twilight and all of that. Or not movies, but books. So she wrote this other book called The Host, and it's amazing because there's this, they call it parasitic aliens, but it's these little God, they look like the little fucking things from the Blue People movie, which I can't even think of the name now.
The Blue People
The
movie?
Blue People. Oh my God, I love the movie. Oh my God, the Blue People that jump through the trees and live on a fucking planet far away.
Oh, Avatar?
Avatar, thank you. Oh my God, the Blue People.
I love that.
That the little things that are Awa, that's what the little ghost people, the little alien things look like in the Awa. You know those little things?
Love that. Yeah.
The little bouncy. I'm moving my hand like you guys can see me.
Yeah, no, I know what you're talking
that's
about.
What the little aliens in
they're
this
part
movie.
of the little plants, and they like they vibe with the Sully, and they come and sit on his shoulder.
Yes, it looks like that. So it's very interesting that was a correlation. But so these parasitic aliens, they call them souls, which is really interesting for the movie, for the book. They call them souls, and they've invaded Earth, air quotes, and they're implanted into the bodies of humans because we are ravaging our planet. There's wars, there's famine, there's people are dying, all of this. And they're like this species of, we're going to come in and make everything calm so that Earth survives. And we're going to implant ourselves in the humans. That's why it's called host. And for some humans, the implant of the alien, because it goes like in the back of their neck thing. Again, you got to watch this, but there's basically 2 of them now in the human body, in the brain. And so you have the human self that can have the conversation, and you have the alien person who is calm, docile, peaceful, not making war, not the overreaction of emotions. It's all of the like very elevated, even, and for the good of all kind. And so these little alien parasites that come in and infect humans, the humans are pissed because they're like, I want to be myself. I don't want to be this numbed version of me. And the aliens are like, well, you're killing everything, so we feel like this is a good choice. So the main character, which I forget her name now, but Melanie, that's it. Her brain, her human self is still there. And in the movie, that's what you get to watch, is this depiction of the conversation between what seems like an elevated soul and a human soul that's still very reactive, fighting, defensive, stuck in the ego, which is something we talked
emotions.
about. Yeah, the base emotions of like, I want my life back, I want to fight, I want this, I want that, I want, me.
Yeah.
Not thinking about the bigger picture of like, how do we make this race survive? All the things that the aliens say that they're there to do. The important part that applies to today's podcast is really where they're having that in-head conversation where you can hear Melanie trying to bring in her emotional, unchecked emotions of the human side, and then you have this, they call her Wanda, is the alien inside of Melanie going like, well, why are you doing that? Why are you feeling that way? And she's questioning her like, you're mad when I kiss this guy you like, you're mad when I kiss the guy you don't like, you're very confusing. And she's very level and even. And so it's just a really cool example of, I think,
I gotta watch this movie. I've never even heard of it.
Yeah, I didn't read the book. Now I want to. When I read reviews on it, it's like
so. Is
the
it
book is
something
different.
That's out? Well, how old
it's
is
like 2000. Well, the book was in 2008, and the movie was probably 2013, 2010, 12.
I bet it's
somewhere.
out there somewhere.
Yeah, it's interesting because there's a quote that I wrote down for it, and this is really relevant for people who are looking to evolve, because it is not about our human self, right? And we went through this in the last podcast, but here's the quote from the book. It's not the face, but the expression on it. It's not the voice, but what you say. It's not how you look in that body, but the thing that you do with it. See, it's all about the experience of being the soul inside of the body rather than being the body that's out to have the pleasures, to get the things, to react wherever, to be unchecked, you know? Mm-hmm. And that's what I really thought about when the self-awareness thing came about, is that Melanie learned, she was a young girl, or is a young girl in the movie, she had to learn very quickly what that looked like to be elevated and think of the bigger picture, right? Yeah. And whereas the host that was this elevated soul had to learn also human desires and what we're working towards and how we're individuals and to have that free will. It was good. I don't know. It's something to think about if you're interested in seeing this in a film or movie.
Well, I totally agree too. It's not the face, it's the expression.
My mom is all the expression.
Because I really have to watch my face. I mean, now I'm more aware of it, of course. Mm-hmm. And so sometimes I'm like, all right, check your face.
Check your face. Oh my God. My sister.
Check your face, because it's so easy to read.
Yeah, actually, it's been years now that I've heard her say that, but we used to go out with my mom, and my sister would say to my mom, fix your face. Like, because she would look grimaced or angry or pissed off, and it's, she didn't look happy to be there, and you're like, what is going on with you? And we knew, her saying that, she knew that my mom wasn't feeling anything, but it was like, can you fucking act happy, please? Can your face reflect what you're feeling, which is being calm and serene, and you're here and everything's good.
It's, I have resting bitch face. I always have, and I have to work at that.
I don't think you always did. Think about that statement. You didn't always have that. You built that over time.
I built that over time, but it became part of who I was. And, I remember being 16 and like getting meeting a girl on the bus that became a good friend of mine, and she said, when I first saw you, I thought you were a bitch. And do you know how many times I've heard that in my life from other females? Like, when I first saw you, I thought you were a bitch. I'm not a bitch, but you know what I am is I'm closed off.
Yeah, they felt that.
So that's what that's what I was projecting out with the expression on my face, is like, stay the fuck away from me, because I don't trust anybody.
Yeah.
So
I think getting into creating the healthy boundaries and the self-awareness, creating healthy boundaries through self-awareness, we wanted to give you guys real words and examples, okay? Because I think that this is really pertinent, and you can look up, you can ask like Google, you can ask ChatGPT to give you more examples of it, typing in things, but we came up with 5 that we felt connected to. I think that was the best way to describe it. Yeah.
We connected with them. So you can search for these, like Jamie said, if these don't connect with you, but maybe these will help you.
Yeah, because the self-awareness leads to healthier relationships by being able to help you communicate your needs and protect your own energy. So when we understand that a boundary is being crossed, that we're being triggered emotionally, and we can speak on it, we can speak up for ourselves, you're going to have a healthier relationship because of that, because sometimes people just don't fucking know.
But also in a way that shows respect and validation to the other person. And I think that's the other component of this. Is like you need to find a way to establish your boundaries with people and express yourself in a way that doesn't
put them
tear
down.
Another person down.
Yeah.
And that is a fine...
Or blame them for it.
For it. Put the responsibility onto them.
Yeah.
And you know what? It can be a really fine line, and it takes work.
It takes work.
I mean,
and
it takes
recognition,
work. And awareness.
And fucking self-awareness. Who would have thunk it? Oh my God. So I'm going to read the first one. This one I think we both really liked. This is the saying you can say if people have crossed your boundary and you need them to recognize it. I want to be honest with you. What just happened made me uncomfortable, and I need to set a boundary. And all that's doing is it's clearly communicating your feelings and the need to establish a boundary without placing blame on them. It's like you're just stating what's real for you. Yeah. I think one of the things that we don't know how to do is argue well without accusing the other person and trying to put the blame on somebody else rather than accept our part in it. Yeah, it's very difficult.
That is so true. That is so true. So I feel like that particular one is like the first time somebody crosses a boundary with you, right?
I agree. I do agree. Yeah, this is like newer stuff.
So the second one is, I value our relationship, but I need you to respect that this is not something I'm comfortable with.
Yeah.
And this, what this does is it emphasizes the importance of the relationship, which I think is critical.
It's crucial.
Especially if anybody that you care about.
Yeah.
While still standing firm in your own position or creating your own boundaries.
With your space,
I'm not cool with this.
Yeah.
I love you, but I'm not cool with this.
I gave Cameron something like that to say to his friends when he felt uncomfortable being out with them doing stuff that he's like, I didn't really want to be there doing that, but like, I want to be part of the friend group.
That's so
it's the fit
hard.
in thing, right?
That's so hard with kids.
With him being, this was when he was more like 15, 16. And he's like, Mom, I remember when they told me that they took down a stop sign, I was like, what the fuck? You guys removed a stop sign? Do you know how dangerous that is?
That's so fucking dangerous.
And he's like, I didn't know what to do about it. What do you say? Like, there's 5 of them, 1 of me. And I thought, oh, fuck, Cameron. So, it's giving our kids these words can really help too. Yeah. The next one that we wrote down is, I've thought about this, and I need to be clear that, whatever action they've done, whatever's happened, is a boundary for me, and I won't be okay with it happening again. And that's where we say, like, that's the second time like they did it. The elevated of the first one. Yeah. I will not be okay with this happening again. Yeah. You're setting a firm boundary that you will remove yourself from the situation. You will disconnect, disengage. You will be gone. Like, remember that this is about you taking control, not about you making them leave, not about you putting it on them, but you saying, I will not accept this, and I will walk the other way away from my boundary. Like, my boundary line is set in the sand almost, and you walk away from that line in the opposite direction of where they are. Yeah. That's how I think about that. Yeah. It's a firm but a non-aggressive way of saying, like, reinforcing that this is non-negotiable. This is not going to fucking happen again. I'm not going to be here for it.
The next part of that is you've got to be...
you gotta do what you say you're gonna do.
You gotta follow
hold
through
firm.
with
Yeah,
it. You gotta follow through.
Don't make false threats.
Because it's almost like an ultimatum without being an ultimatum. It's just it's standing firm in what you believe, and you got to believe it. Mm-hmm. You got to believe that you deserve.
Believe it, and act on it.
Yeah,
you got to act on it. Yeah.
So the next one that we wrote down is certain words or behaviors, like, insert whatever happened, make me feel defensive or upset. So,
this is a good one of where you can start explaining to people that are close to you that you do have triggers, and this is one of them.
Yeah.
Because people don't know what upsets you, and they're not going to understand it.
This would really help. Would have really helped with my situation with Jolene. Like, I don't know that she knows my stories. I think she knows my stories, but she doesn't relate it to what's happening right now.
No, definitely not.
No. So I could have helped her understand my reaction to it if I had given her an example of like, listen, this is why this language really affects me the way that it does, and why it's like it is a trigger. It's a trigger for me. I love you, but
absolutely not happy.
I can't. I can't have somebody trying to control, or me feeling like
you're trying to control me.
This feels like you're trying to control me,
right?
And that's a trigger for me,
right? And that's where you say, I need to step back from this.
Yeah,
and the other thing is when you're all out together, like, you can't just leave. My thing was when I got triggered, I just burnt out. Like, I would ghost people and nobody knew where I went, and that would upset people. And when I did that for the first couple times with my husband, he would get and we weren't married yet, but he would get so upset with me, and I was like, listen, when I'm done, I'm done. And sometimes I don't even have the words for it. I just gotta fucking go.
That's me. I feel like that's. I feel like
got
that's
some of your shit.
That's shit that I would do.
I just have to walk away because the other side of that is I'm like bye. I have to call myself a fucking Uber a mile down the road.
Yeah,
like,
I'm gone.
It's very upsetting for the people I'm with, and it's not been beneficial to relationships.
And, it's really unfair when you think about it. Like, how would you like to be in that situation where somebody's
terrible?
Like, you would be so worried about what...
me, I would have probably never spoke to him again.
Right.
I know, like, so dramatic. But he, and I guess this is where I had to learn to tell him what triggers me.
Yeah.
I had to be very clear with it because I wasn't, and that was my fault. That was something I had to accept responsibility for. Yeah. People do not know what upsets you until you have explained it to them. And sometimes it takes multiple examples of explaining it to them. Like, don't be one and done if you love somebody. Don't just tell them once and then expect them to just understand it.
If you care about the relationship, you've got to be willing to put in the work. And that's part of putting in the work.
That's putting in the fucking work,
is to, like, help them understand who you are.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
Okay, so the last one we have is, I know this may not seem like a big deal, but when blank specific event happens, it triggers something deeper in me.
That's you for the situation with Jolene. That is
totally me. So what this statement does, it acknowledges that, well, first of all, it puts the responsibility onto you. Yeah. That this is your trigger, and that, and it also lets the other person know that this, they may not know. It's not obvious to them, but, it's your trigger, so it's still valid. So, yeah, it acknowledges your trigger that might not be obvious.
Right, and our triggers aren't always obvious, right? Like, you just can't tell that that's you. Sometimes somebody gets upset, and you're like, I don't know why you're so upset about this. Like, what is really going on? I usually ask the people close to me when they get upset about something. I'm like, is something else really going on? Like, I feel like that was a weird reaction to my statement. Yeah. There will be times, like, my husband hates tax season, right? He fucking hates doing the taxes. And so there will be times when we're talking about something and he gets really upset or distant or fucking not responding to me. He's like spacey. I'm like, what is going on? Like, you're not being yourself. He forgets to remind me
that it's tax season.
Yeah. Or
that he's under stress.
Sure.
Yeah.
So we have specific days that we know also. Okay, so he has a daughter that's passed. I have a dad that's passed. So there's family member stuff. There's events that have happened. And when there's dates that come up, all we have to do to say to each other now, because we've been together this long, we're like, this is a hard day for me. And you know what? We give the other person so much grace, space, and love. It's like, whatever you fucking need, I'm here for you. Yeah. But we have to say it to them. They are, nobody's a mind reader. I mean, well, actually, maybe there are a couple mind readers out there. Well, but in relationships, people aren't mind readers. And we have to say it to, that's our responsibility.
That is our responsibility.
Take the fucking responsibility to tell people what's going on with you. Do not hide that shit. Don't expect for them just to know inherently that something's wrong.
Well, and also,
self-awareness.
So circles back to the point of looking inward and understanding your own shit,
yourself,
right? You have to understand that this day and is, something that happened to you in the past, that this is a day that's hard for you.
It's a fucking hard time,
somebody. That's your responsibility, and that's also your awareness to recognize that, you know what, always at this time of year or this particular week of the year, whatever, I always feel depressed, or I'm always sad, or I'm always missing, or something, or whatever the situation is. So, the turning the mirror inward and recognizing our things is also about taking responsibility.
Yeah.
And then sharing that with the people that we care about, so that we're not just expecting them to know us and we have to remind them, because for us it's a big deal. That day is a big deal. But until you've been with someone for a while and you've been through a few of those days, we're like, every year.
Put it in your fucking calendar,
that first week of September, her dad died or whatever, and so this is a hard time for her.
Right. And I'm going to do things like, I'm going to seek space for myself.
Yeah.
I'm going to go spend time alone. I might cry unexpectedly. And, it was so cute. The other day we were sitting in bed, and this is after all the hurricane and everything, and we're just finally back at our house and things are feeling a little normal at home. And he started telling me a fucking story, and I don't know why. I looked out to where the pine tree used to be, and, I hate to multitask, but my brain is so fucking, I don't know. It's like all the thoughts going around. I imagined the tree there, and all of a sudden it hit me that instant, like the sadness. I was like, oh my God, my space. But he's talking about a normal story, and I couldn't even stop the swelling of the tears. And he goes, honey, are you okay? What's wrong? What did I say? I was like, I'm just emotional right now. It's not this. I was like, go ahead with your story. And he trusts that when I say something like that, he's like, okay, she has something going on, and we're just going to continue on. I was like, I am okay, but I need to keep releasing the emotions of my loss during these times.
Yeah.
And he allows that to happen without any question, and I love that.
Well, so this is, this is how you've managed to build a healthy relationship, because you've been able to express it.
We communicate a lot. Yeah. That's me having my own self-awareness, and also with him having his own awareness, and we've had to talk through a lot of stuff. And you guys, when we first started out, these are hours and hours of conversations about the things that we've been through, so we truly understand each other. And when there is something that's a miscommunication, a misstep, or something one of us didn't read right, we're like, oh fuck, okay, I did get that wrong, I'm sorry. Or I'll know better next time, or now I know. It's thank you for sharing with me, Yeah. We can really improve our relationships through our own self-awareness. And I think that that's where we truly become powerful spiritual beings here.
Yeah.
We know ourselves to the fullest extent.
So this is the hard stuff.
It's very hard.
This is the not fun part of the witchcraft journey.
But it gets so much better once you do it.
But you know what? It really does improve those interpersonal relationships, and it helps you grow.
It improves how you feel about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Truly, because you understand yourself.
When you understand yourself, and you can express yourself in a healthy way that respects the other person and validates their feelings, where also it draws the line for you. It's like, this is not okay with me. It's a whole thing, but this is the hard stuff.
It's deep and heavy.
This is the looking inward and recognizing things, and a lot of times it goes way back in our past for these things that trigger us. I don't know why. Sometimes I don't know why certain things. I mean, when I go back to the thing about people trying to control me, where did that start?
Yeah.
I don't even know.
As we prepared for this, I think Kat realizes that there's still work around that, or that she's already working on it.
I feel like I'm right in the middle of it.
You're in
right
the middle.
Now.
Yeah.
I really do. I am not on the other side where I have full awareness, because I haven't got to the point where I can start expressing in a way that's respectful and of the other person
words,
and their feelings. But finding the words can be really hard to do, and that takes a lot of thought, and it takes for me anyways. It's going to take a mindset change where I'm not thinking about myself and I'm trying to think about the other person while also respecting myself and whatever's going on. So it's a really delicate balance. Yeah. But it's so worth it.
It's so worth it.
Once you do that, once you're able to totally like control your emotions and not be triggered by things, just think what you can do within that energy, because now you're not, because you can focus it.
You're in charge of your own energetic power.
Absolutely in charge.
Like being in charge of your emotions is being in charge of your energy, which is taking back your power.
Yeah.
And I think truly that's what witchcraft is all about, is women taking back their power from all
and then
the
being
shit.
able to focus your power when you need it into spells,
into manifestations, and making shit happen. Yeah.
There you go.
Well, we love you, Grace, so much, and I know this was a longer than normal podcast. We knew this one would be like pretty deep and heavy. We hope that you got a lot out of it, and we want you to know that like us talking through this is also therapeutic for us. So if you felt like this was a small therapy session, we felt it too.
If you could see us, there's tears welling up in eyes. There's tears that are shed. There's a lot of shit that comes up. Yeah. And I actually feel like this podcast is a growth. It's a way for us to grow.
Yeah.
Because I'm speaking for myself. I'm not all the way there yet. Yeah. I'm a work in progress for sure.
We're always a work in progress, but there are levels where you kind of like there's a plateau sometimes where you have to wait for the next event that has to catapult you. Like, oh fuck, there's more work to do.
I fucking feel that. God damn it.
I'm in a pretty good plateau right now. Like, I'm on the other side of it, and I feel really good about it. And I'm a plateau right now. I'm good. Yeah. I help others at the moment, but all right, you guys, we love you. Thank you for being here with us. We hope that you enjoyed this, and we will see you next time.
Next time, witches.
Bye witches.